Hello and welcome to Mangum News. I'm your host, Elijah Mangum. This week we'll be discussing New York Attorney General Letitia James suing former President Donald J. Trump, Agricultural Commissioner Andy Gipson announcing new safety protocols for the upcoming Mississippi State Fair, my reviews for Andor episodes 1 through 3, She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode 6, The Lord of the Rings of Power episode 5, Florence High School's first district game against Laurel, my weekly weather report, and my exclusive interview with WLBT reporter Holly Emery. Without further ado, let's begin. New York Attorney General Letitia James sued former President Donald J. Trump, his adult children, and the Trump Organization for $250 million on Wednesday. The civil case accuses the defendants of inflating the value of their properties by billions and could cost them their ability to continue business in the state of New York.
Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
We're not going to let a few bad actors ruin the Mississippi State Fair.
2 weeks prior to the kickoff of the Mississippi State Fair, Agricultural Commissioner Andy Gipson announced a series of new security protocols. Commissioner Gipson said no one under the age of 18 will be allowed inside the fair past 9 p.m. unless they are accompanied by an adult. To enforce this, he said guests may have to show their ID to prove they are of age before they get past an entry point. Guests will go through metal detectors to ensure no one is bringing in any illegal weapons, and all bags will be subject to a check. There will also be a maximum bag size of 12 by 12 by 6. Multiple agencies, including Hinds County Sheriff's Office, Jackson Police Department, Capitol Police, Mississippi Highway Patrol, and the state's Fire Marshal Office will be on security. This comes after the shooting at the Mug Bug Festival back in May. The Mississippi State Fair will kick off on October 6th and will last through the 16th. Andor takes a unique, grounded approach to Star Wars. The show has already proven to have a great plot, action sequences, and artistically cuts between the main story and parallel flashbacks to Cassian's origins. However, like many early episodes of a series, it suffers from slow pacing. Overall, I'll give the first 2 episodes an 8 out of 10, while the third episode receives an 8.5 out of 10. She-Hulk Attorney at Law episode 6 has its redeeming qualities, such as a tease of some possible good action to come, and finally an idea of the show's bigger picture, but suffers from a ridiculous and pointless storyline. Overall, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The Lord of the Rings of Power, Episode 5, once again succeeds with beautiful visuals and musical score. Despite last week's significant story progression and improvement, this week suffers from the same pacing issues as the premiere episodes did. Overall, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Florence High School defeated Laurel 28-27 in their first district game of the season on Friday. Next week, Florence will face Wayne County at Wayne County. Monday will be sunny with a high of 84 and a low of 72. Tuesday will be sunny with a high of 80 and a low of 54. Wednesday will be sunny with a high of 78 and a low of 52. Thursday will be sunny with a high of 78 and a low of 52. Friday will be sunny with a high of 80 and a low of 54. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 82 and a low of 56. Sunday will be sunny with a high of 84 and a low of 58. First, can you kind of describe your motivations going into this career and how you got started?
Right. So my career started at my inspiration started at a very young age. I grew up playing sports, a 3-season athlete, playing soccer, softball, volleyball, you name it. If it was on a team, I was joining. And my senior year, I was injured and I couldn't participate. So my one of the TV classes that I had taken, they had called me and they were like, "Hey, would you be willing to do our broadcast and just do a little bit of color commentary because you were on the team, you know the sport, would you be willing to do that?" So I said yes. It was not as good as I remember it. It definitely was a rough first try to ever be a commentator for sports, but I immediately fell in love and I knew right then and there this was the career for me. Whether I was good or not, I was gonna get better and I was gonna do it. Fast forward, go to Mississippi State and meet a whole bunch of people at the university and just more fell in love with news and sports. Finally got a job over at WCBI in Columbus, Mississippi, where I got to be a news reporter for about 6 months and then landed me here in Jackson. And I have not regretted my decision to be a reporter ever since. I've loved the news. I love telling people stories. And now I get a chance to do a little bit of sports, which is what I wanted to do early on. So I get to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I'm glad that WLBT is kind of giving you that opportunity to because they can't cover everything. Isn't it a lot of the footage? When I watch the news, how do they get their footage from? Because obviously you don't have everybody can't be everywhere. So
yeah, everybody kind of chips in on football season. They had asked me, our sports director Trey, he had said he was going to be leaving, which meant there needed to be a shift in the amount of people covering football. And so they asked me to be on the sidelines and take another reporter who'd done that the year before. Everybody kind of chips in. We have photographers, we have reporters, our operations manager joins in. We have a morning producer that joins in. It's a all hands on deck. Sometimes our assistant news director shoots if we're down a man. It really is an all hands on deck, and you just got to be willing to change change in a minute, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Can you talk a little bit about what the day in the life of Holly Emery looks like?
It kind of whenever I started this career, I thought it would be pretty consistent, but there's elements that keep your news day consistent. Just like, okay, you come in and you do your news meeting, you pitch your stories, you do that kind of thing. But the story is completely different. The types of people you're going to meet are completely different. So I'm just going to go on a kind of normal schedule. I usually pitch my stories in the morning. I send them in an email, just some ideas I'm thinking of, maybe something I've heard of through other people in my community where I live. And I send them in. Once I get in the morning, my news director and my assistant news director, they talk about it with the room, which ones we want to cover. And sometimes they'll take my pitch. Sometimes we have press conferences that need to be covered. We need to send somebody to do that. So if that happens, if we go with my pitch where it's not a press conference, I'm immediately making calls to people because the earlier in the day, the better. Just to give people some time to prepare. Sometimes they want to go and get better clothes from home. Sometimes they just need a minute to eat some lunch. But the earlier in the day, the better. I try and set up in person. I prefer in person interviews, but understand people are busy. About 2 o'clock is my deadline for interviews. I'm pretty quick at editing, but I need to get a little quicker. And from 2 o'clock until pretty much 4:45, I am editing VOSOTs, VOs, packages, just getting everything ready for my 4, 5, and 6 shows. If I'm in the 4 o'clock, if I'm live, I'll be out there about 20 minutes before the live shot, getting mic checks, making sure everything's set up with the gear, with my photographer. And then just about 6:30, we make sure we have our stories up on the web to make sure if you missed the broadcast, you can see it online. And that's pretty much the normal day.
Watch your story. I think it was a couple days ago, about a week ago or so. I saw one of yours where you had footage that you may have done or edited together, but at the same, so obviously that was already done and sent in, but at the same time you were doing, but currently you were doing live shots.
Right.
So do you have to, can you describe kind of how that works about, do you edit stuff at the location, or how does that all work? Because, you're there live, but at the same time, you already have all this footage shot and edited and sent into the station already.
Right. So it kind of depends on how far we are away from the station, what time it is. For example, if we go down to Brookhaven, it's about a 45-minute drive from our station. And if I have an interview at 2 o'clock, that's 45 minutes of travel. I have to put into my schedule. But if I'm ready if I need to be ready for 4 o'clock, that's kind of cutting it close. So sometimes we'll edit out in the field. We have our whole little setup in our car. We have laptops, we have internet connections, chargers, all that kind of stuff. And we can edit in our cars. We can edit in basically fast food parking lots. It's kind of, it is not a glamorous thing at all. Sometimes we're back at the station. If I have an interview, obviously at 1 o'clock, it doesn't take me too long to edit something before I need to go live at 5. So I will make sure I have it edited either in my car if I'm far away or at the station. And I just need to make sure I'm ready for that live shot about 20 to 15 minutes before we go live, because we have to do all those mic checks. If you don't do the mic checks, who knows if you're going to hear me on air? Who knows if the camera's going to be in focus and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of depends on where you are and the story is and what time your interviews are. But one of the number one rules is to always be prepared to have to go remote, just because you never know if this person's going to call you at the last minute and say, I need to do an interview at 2:30 and I'm down here I'm in Florida. You need to be ready to adjust and know that you could go live, you could front in the studio, all that kind of stuff.
What would be your advice to an aspiring journalist?
That's a very good question. I thought, when you sent me the question, I thought about it, and I'm trying to think back to all of the advice my own mentors gave me. And it was to always, there's 3 main things. I'm going to give you 3 main tips that I think people gave me and it helped me grow. Is one actually came from Courtney Ann Jackson. She works at WLBT. She has been such a model to look at. So first piece of advice, find a reporter that you really do want to become, like how they talk, how they present themselves. And you don't need to necessarily like copy them, but asking those people that are experts in where you want to be, just how do you develop relationships? How do you do this? How do you have the confidence to do live shots? That was the biggest thing I struggled with, and Courtney Ann had helped me. So find that person that you are like, I want to make this a goal within this many years to be able to do a live shot as confidently and as fluidly as this reporter, or make a show even as crisp and clean as this producer. It can be anyone from a journalist to producing, directing, anything. You just need to find that person and ask them, pick their brain about things of how they got to where they are. and then use that advice. The second one, I would say have confidence in yourself. I mean, as a female reporter, it's definitely easier than it was, 50 years ago to be a reporter. However, people are going to question you out of college if you know what you're talking about, if you know what you're doing. And it's all about, I've done the classes, I've gotten the position I've gotten to, and I need to have the confidence to trust myself into making sure I can get this on the air in the correct quality, and just remembering I've got this position for a reason. And it's not just because X, Y, and Z. It's because I know what I'm doing. Have that confidence that you can go live, and if you stutter and mess up, no big deal. We'll keep going. Third thing is specifically for journalists that go live. Tomorrow's a new day. I would get so in my head about live shots. I'd get so nervous. I would sound shaky. And because I was like, I have to be perfect. You do want to be as perfect as you can be. However, if you have a hard day as a journalist, if you are fumbling over your words, it's not the end of the world. We are all human, and you're going to grow as long as you don't like freeze up on camera and you just keep going. Most people know you're human. They're not going to be like, oh my goodness, she doesn't know what she's doing. So just know that it's going to be okay. Take a breath. And it's a new day tomorrow. Things will get better. Those are probably my three main points for a journalist or a producer or anybody. Just those have helped me grow from in the beginning of college all the way to where I am now.
And thank you for the advice, by the way. I've been fortunate to be able to meet and interview a lot of the people that you work with, including Leanne Jackson.
Right. All those people are amazing. I walk into the newsroom and I'm like, I am around legends, rock stars. I mean, I get to work with Maggie and Howard. I mean, how many, not many people get to say that they get to work with people that have been the face of news in Jackson for 40 years. And that's me. And I feel very honored. And so you just need to please take that advice. Listen to those people that have been in the industry, have gone through the literally running tapes into newsrooms and having to do live shots during Katrina and everything else. Like, take the advice of those people. They're so wise. And I'm so blessed I get to do that every day.
That's all we have for this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. And we'll see y'all on Sunday.